Hey, everybody, welcome. This is your show, Dr. Levi with the Dr. Levi Show. Today is November 2nd, 2016. Beautiful day here in Los Angeles. A little bit overcast, but guess what? It's going to be beautiful. So that I hope wherever you are today, you're making it a great day. We have a really wonderful show lined up for you today. We're going to talk about the value of having organic materials in your home and why it's so important to avoid things that really are avoidable. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about some chemicals that really don't work well at all. They're not good for your body. They're not good for your brain. They're not good for the way that you want to sleep even. So I think today's show is really about the value of organic materials, the value of sleeping actually on a mattress that is made of organic materials and materials that are not of highly based chemical origin or chemical retardants, flame retardants. So we have a really extensive show today, much to talk about. I want to thank you again for subscribing and following and liking us on all our social media platforms. I also want to remind you, of course, that this Saturday will be Twitch TV again. I'll be doing that. So it'll be a big show about gamers, talking about gamers' health, talking about the need to be healthy and fit, and why it's so important to do this certain types of exercises and stretches that are needed when you are exercising and when you're gaming. So we have a lot to talk about there. Now, with respect to the big thing of next week, by next Tuesday, you know what that is, of course, Election Day. So I want to remind you to get out and vote. No matter who you want to vote for, that's your business, as well as whom I'm voting for. It's my business. But I want to remind you to vote. It's so important that we participate in the democratic process of this country, and voting is a way to do that. So if you don't like the way things are going, if you want a major change, then guess what? You have to get out and vote. You know, so often I'll actually talk to my patients and they will say, oh, Dr. Levi, I'm not going to vote. I don't want to vote. I don't like the way things are going. I'm going to do this and that. And I remind them quickly, if you haven't voted, then don't talk about it, because you participate in the problem, actually. You can help to bring about any type of change. When it comes to making a change, you have to do something about it. And our country is really about voting. No matter how insignificant it may seem or appear, voting is important. My grandmother, before she passed away, when she was able to vote, literally she would have my family, she'd always say, if I'm in a wheelchair, if I'm on a walker, if I'm using my cane, but every voting cycle get me to the polls. And she never missed before she died. She literally never missed a day of voting. So I think, again, it's so important that you prioritize the need to vote and that you do it. So remember, voting is important. Why? Because you want to be not only an activist, but also an advocate for your community as well as for the United States. And don't forget, your vote impacts not only your community, but guess what? Who's going to be the next people on the Supreme Court? What things are they going to possibly overturn? What things are they going to change? What's going to happen with the legalization of marijuana? What's going to happen with women's rights, with abortion rights, with gay rights, with transgender rights? I mean, there's so many things on the board here. So I want to remind everyone, do what you can, but no matter what, get out and vote. It is so very, very important. I want to remind everyone, of course, that BlizzCon is coming up November 4th and 5th in Anaheim. I'll be there. And guess what? I got invited to be a part of opening ceremonies. So we're talking about over how many hundreds of millions of people that will have access to BlizzCon via a virtual tour. They can actually get access to BlizzCon virtually, but also the number of people that will be there in person. So looking forward to meeting the gamers there, meeting the BlizzCon folks. It'll be really, really extraordinary. And that's this November 4th and 5th. I'll be there all day with my team and I, with Aaron and Janet. We'll be there meeting and greeting and having a really great time. So I hope to see you there. And I want to remind you again, Twitch TV, this coming Saturday. That is just the best. That'll be November 5th at 7 p.m. And of course, that's live. So it gives you a chance to ask all your questions, anything you need to know. Hey, I'm your doctor. It's Dr. Levi, the gamer's doctor, here to be of service to you. Now, let's get to the show today. I want to talk about the importance of sleep, as well as the importance of sleeping in an environment where things are healthy, meaning that you have to really make an assessment to know that the mattress that you're sleeping on, is it a healthy mattress? Is it made of flame retardant materials? Is it made of chemicals that you shouldn't have exposure to? Are there a lot of phthalates involved, or phthalate esters, or PVC? There's so many things that can be in your environment that are actually toxic for your body, for your children, for your grandchildren, for your family, for your pets even. So when it comes to assessing the environment, today's show is really about reminding you to, as much as you can, to eat organic, to buy organic, and guess what? To do what you can to even buy and have an organic mattress. And I know that may sound odd, but it really isn't. And today's guest, I'll bring him on shortly, is from NaturePedic, and he's going to talk about how he started his company, what was his nidus to do this, and how he's been so inspired and how he's been so impassioned to do something with such great intensity that's really making a difference for humanity. And the difference is about really doing what he can to make humanity safer. Not simply his own family, but what he can do to make other people safe and not get some of the problems that are associated with some of the chemicals in mattresses and really products that we use on a daily basis. So we're going to talk to him momentarily. Now, I want to talk to you about sleep. You know, sleep, there are different forms of sleep. There are two basic forms. There's non-REM and REM sleep. REM sleep, we spend about 25% in REM sleep and the other 75% in non-REM sleep. And REM, of course, is rapid eye movement. Now, there are different phases of each of those, but what I really want to talk to you is about the value of sleeping properly, because I think two of the major problems we have in humanity, basically, there are two. One, of course, is stress, not being able to process and deal with stress appropriately. And the second, of course, is sleep, not sleeping well. The third I've talked about before, and I often get a lot of funny comments about, is constipation. I think we're chronically constipated. And that constipation is not just gastrically, but we're constipated in our thoughts of thinking that we're going to just subscribe to the status quo. Whatever people say, then you say too. Whatever people do, then you do it too. Whatever people believe, you believe it too. Where I want to remind everyone to take a stand. Believe something different. Stand for yourself. Do what you think is right. But don't simply say that, well, they said. Whenever someone talks to me, they say, well, Dr. Levi, I heard, or Dr. Levi, they said. I always say two things. Who is they, and who are these other people that said it? I want to meet them. Show me the studies about what you're saying. Because for me, as a scientist, as an engineer, as a physician, as a surgeon, as a speaker, I want to hear from those people who told that person that. Because I want to ask them, what are the studies that prove what you're saying? It's so important that we don't simply accept the status quo, that we make decisions for ourselves and get educated. Education is the key. Education is the key to making steps to greater self-knowledge, but more importantly, to making decisions that have a base in science. So when it comes to sleep, I want to remind you to sleep at least 4 to 8 hours a day. If you can, 9. So often my team and I, we tell each other that sleep is overrated and that we can sleep when we die. And myself, unfortunately, I only sleep maybe 2 to 3 hours per night, sometimes 4. I think that's just the training from medical school. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. In general, I don't think it is, but that's me. So I want to remind you to do what you can to sleep properly and to minimize your stress, and again, to think for yourself. That's so important. And the younger the child is, of course, when it comes to sleep, it's so important that they sleep at least 8 to 9 hours a day, because kids will have a greater propensity to be in that state of we call true restful sleep. Unlike many of us, when we sleep, it's not really restful. We're in a altered state of consciousness, but it's not the real beauty of true REM sleep, where you're in that delta state, basically, and going from alpha to theta to delta and really remaining there for an extended period of time. So sleep is the ticket. Get yours. Now I want to bring on our guest here, Barry Chick. And Barry is a very interesting gentleman that I wanted to have on the show after speaking to Jane, who actually is a person that I met many years ago at a place here in Burbank. And she highly recommended that we bring him on and talk to him about NaturePedic. So NaturePedic is a store that really specializes in organic types of material for for bedding, for your home. I mean, Barry has a lot to talk about, so I want to bring him on, and I really hope this show engages you to really have a second thought about what's in your environment that could be contaminating yourself, your family, your children, your pets, and what can you do to actually minimize the threat or the things that could be happening in your home. So, Barry Chick, welcome. How you doing, young man?
Wow, thank you, Dr. Levi. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Oh, happy to have you.
It's such an honor. You are one of the leaders.
Thank you.
And I'm following you.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So happy to have you here from Chagrin Falls, Ohio.
Yeah.
You're in for the day here. So let's talk about you first. Then I want to talk about NaturePedic. So what was your passion to actually get involved with starting your company, NaturePedic?
Well, it goes back to my college days when I'm from the Cleveland area.
Yes.
Lake Erie was dying, okay? And the joke in engineering school was the solution to pollution is dilution.
Interesting.
And that was very funny back then.
Right.
But I was one of the people who said, no, it's not very funny at all.
Absolutely.
You know, so it started back then because we realized that, like, for example, back to the lake, just for the broader picture,
Yes.
When they started dumping all the toxic materials from the on the industry,
Yes.
Back in 1870, the lake just, ate it up.
Yes.
No problem.
Yes.
1890, no problem. 1910, 1930, no problem.
Yes.
By 1970, it was a big problem.
Absolutely.
We learned the lesson that you can only pollute so much.
Absolutely.
And then finally you get to the point where you just, you're going to pay the price.
Right, because everything's super saturated, super dirty.
Everything's super dirty.
Yes.
Exactly. So then the same thing happened. The same thing happens with people.
Yes.
There are now 84,000 chemicals running around in the marketplace. Of virtually every one of them, not regulated at all.
Right.
We have no clue what's doing what to who.
Exactly.
The chemical industry, they're taking the position that the dose makes the poison. It's got to be enough of a dose for it to be a poison. If it's a little tiny bit, it's not a poison. That's their attitude. So that's how they get away with, it's just a little bit of this, a little bit of that. My response to them is, well, that's technically true that the dose makes the poison, but at what dose are you hurting somebody?
Absolutely.
They don't know that part.
Right.
And what about if it's a little tiny bit, but you're getting it every single day?
Right.
What about if it's a little bit of this combining with a little bit of that makes a little bit of a third thing?
Right.
Okay?
So you're saying that they've really forgotten about the cumulative effect of a little bit here, a little bit there, but by the end of the week, end of the month, end of the year, you've gotten a big dose of everything.
That's right. And just to give an example so anybody can understand it.
Yes.
When you have a headache, you take an aspirin. What part of that aspirin is active ingredient? Just a part of it. And that little bit goes into your stomach, and only part of that makes it into your bloodstream.
Right.
But you know what? That little itty-bitty, teeny little bit of aspirin makes your headache go away. And that's pretty cool. But guess what? I can give you 100 other chemicals, little teeny weeny bits that'll give you that headache or a lot worse.
Absolutely.
So at what point is it a problem?
Right.
Okay? They don't know. The fact of the matter is that even smaller amounts accumulate and they're making trouble.
Right.
We have babies, we have adults, but it's even more noticeable today with the babies.
Absolutely.
Where autism,
of course,
and asthma,
right,
and ADD and ADHD,
and obesity and diabetes,
diabetes,
reproductive disorders,
exactly, and so on. And we don't even know where it's coming from.
Right.
We're at the point where we can't give kids peanuts. Right. What the hell is going on?
Right. We do know, though, that generationally we see a major change, especially in the U.S. with respect to obesity, reproductive issues, heart disease, stroke. We do see major changes. So you do have to wonder, could it be from, just for example, from phthalates? Could it be from phthalate esters? Could it be from PVC? Phthalate is a chemical that's used in plastics to make plastic more malleable, flexible, and softer. And it's often not only in PVC, but it's in fragrances, for example, air freshener that you may have. It's in like the rubber ducky that you may have that your kids are playing with, plastic toys. It's in so many different things. But many people don't know about this, Mr. Chick. They have no idea.
That's right. They don't. So let's talk about phthalates.
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. So you can't make vinyl without phthalates. So let's talk about that. There's something called polyvinyl chloride. Polyvinyl chloride comes in two forms, hard, soft.
Yes.
When polyvinyl chloride is hard, it's called PVC, like PVC pipe.
Exactly.
When polyvinyl chloride is soft, it's called vinyl. How do you make the soft vinyl? You take the hard PVC and you add plasticizers, which are phthalates or
Yes.
phthalate substitutes.
Right.
Okay, and that makes it flexible
And malleable.
malleable.
Yeah, softer, basically.
Softer, exactly. All right. One problem. The first problem is that the phthalates don't stick to the hard PVC. It off gases or out gases. It comes into the air where you can breathe it.
Right.
Okay, and they know that. So all vinyl, contains something like 40% just phthalates.
Right.
Because they know it's going to off gas when you're going to breathe it.
Yes.
When you open the door to a new car and you have that new car smell, you're smelling phthalates
Right.
coming out of the vinyl, and it's a small airspace. When vinyl gets old and starts to crack on you, it's because the phthalates are all gone. It's
Yes.
reverting back to the hard PVC.
Of course.
Okay, they did a study at the University of Rochester. This is 10 years ago, and they demonstrated that phthalate off-gassing actually harms baby boys. It makes the baby boys more feminine.
Right. I saw that. That was a pediatric study. I saw
Right.
that. And I think it's interesting to show that how reproductive organs and feminization of a child can occur just from exposure to a specific chemical.
That's right. That's right.
It was specific.
That's
that
right.
was phthalate esters.
Right. And Congress actually banned
In 2008 or 7, I think.
2008, that's
Yeah,
right.
so I remember reading that too.
But guess what happened? You can't make vinyl without phthalates. They ain't giving up their vinyl.
No, of
So
course
what they did is they took the banned phthalates,
Right.
they tweaked the formulas, created new kinds of phthalates that aren't banned, right back in the vinyl.
So the same stuff.
Same stuff.
So when it comes to really looking at, phthalates or bisphenols, I mean, there's so many we could go on with chemicals. I mean, what do you think the issue? Do you think the issue is the FDA? Do you think they have a lot of people in their back pocket that they're not doing things about this? I mean, what do you think with respect to organizationally needs to be done for there to be major changes? And these changes have to come, of course, legislatively.
Right. Very simple. There are 84,000 chemicals. If you're making a chemical, all right, you have to prove that that chemical is safe.
Right.
Otherwise, you can't sell that chemical.
Right.
That's the way it should be.
I agree with you.
But that's not the way it is. Okay? That's just not the way it is. Today, you can make any chemical you want, pretty much, and you don't have to test it even.
Right.
And if you know that there's a problem, you can get away with it and not talk about it.
Right.
That's the way the system works today. Okay? That's not the right way.
I agree with you.
So yeah, we do need we have a broken system, and it's time for our government to come out of the dark ages and do things the right way.
I agree with you.
And the right way is, let the EPA develop a standard. And that standard can vary. You might have a different standard for a children's product or for
adults.
For adults or for older people or
Right.
for whatever.
Right.
You come up with a system that makes sense, and then tell all the companies out there, you're free to do what you want as long as you can meet the standard.
Right. Within these guidelines.
Within these guidelines. Right. And you want to make chemicals, you want to make these, that's fine.
Right.
But you prove that your product is going to meet the guidelines, and then you can do it. The Congress will not do it. They will not do it.
And you think the reason for that not doing it is because of the lobbyists? You think it's
Sure.
because of just the money involved?
Sure.
Or because the reformation that will be needed to cause the changes that we need to change people's health?
Well, yeah, it's all of that.
Right.
I mean, the fact of the matter is that, half the politicians are getting paid off, by industry. And they're just not gonna
change.
They're not gonna change. So we need to elect much more progressive,
Out of the box thinkers.
Who are going to say, enough of this. We're hurting ourselves
And our generations.
and our generations, our kids, our grand. So let me tell you my story on how I
Yes.
started, because I'm part of that. So I'm a board-certified environmental engineer. I've been chasing chemicals for a living.
Right. For over 30 years.
Oh, well over 30
Right.
years, okay? I'm also certified by the Institute of Professional Environmental Practice.
Right.
I'm also a certified hazardous materials manager.
Right.
I'm also an author of a textbook for government institutes on environmental assessments.
Yes.
I'm also a certified diplomat forensic engineer. I get to testify in court as an expert witness.
Right.
I'm certified by the Ohio EPA, and a couple other things.
Yes.
All right. So
That's a lot of great certifications. When you tell with 30 years of true wisdom that you've accumulated, so I hope everybody's listening to Barry Chick. This guy knows a lot here. All right, Barry.
So here I am.
Yes.
I was not in the manufacturing business. I was not in retail wholesale. I was a consultant.
Yes.
13 years ago, my wife sent me to a baby store to buy a crib mattress and a few other things.
This is for your grandkid?
For our first grandchild.
Oh, congratulations.
So I'm shortening the story,
Yes.
but I walk into the store, and it's vinyl.
So that was a no.
The mattress.
That was a no.
No, with phthalates.
That was,
Polyurethane foam with flame retardants.
Right.
Okay. Formaldehyde. Perfluorinated compounds. So fluorinated compounds is used if they're not using vinyl as the waterproofing on a baby mattress.
Yes.
And it's sort of a fabric-y kind of finish. It's usually waterproofed with a perfluorinated compound. It's usually it could be a spray. It could be however.
Right.
They use that to waterproof toxic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then they have pesticides. Do you know that when you walk into a store and you see a product that says antimicrobial or antibacterial, you know what that means? It means they added pesticides. And by law, you can't call something antimicrobial unless you added a pesticide.
Right.
Well, that sounds great, but what's the pesticide doing to the kid?
Right.
Nobody thinks of that.
Absolutely. And then the other thought is some of those chemicals, you will also have other things like let's say cadmium or other issues that can leach out from the plastic into the product. You use the product, you put in that stuff on you too. And we know at cadmium, these are cancer-producing agents.
Sure. And I'll give you another example.
Yes.
So let's go back for a minute. Well, anyways, let me just finish my.
Sure. I want to hear about. Yeah.
All
Sure.
right.
We'll get in the mattress for your crib for your grandchild.
So I couldn't buy anything.
Right.
And I'm talking to the salesperson. We're going back and forth, and finally she says to me, "Oh, come on. If it wasn't safe, the government wouldn't allow it to be sold."
Oh, so she didn't. She had no clue.
She had no clue.
Okay. Yeah. Got it.
I come home and I'm starting to kidding around, and and I finally tell my wife, you know what? My grandfather slept on straw. That's healthier.
Than the crib I was going to buy for my grandkid.
And we have some Amish friends.
Yes.
I said, let's go to the Amish friends and get some straw.
and not buy the crib. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
That's how this whole thing started.
Yes.
I didn't intend to get into this business, but with it, we first got another mattress that was organic, but there were two problems with that. One problem was it's not waterproof.
So that can grow mold, I would think.
Yeah, it grow mold.
Yeah, bacteria easily.
And let's talk about waterproofing, but
yes.
we'll come back to that.
Yes.
And then the other problem is many of the organic mattresses are made with latex. So organic is not enough because latex is an allergen.
Right.
And you don't want to put a baby on latex.
Right.
Now with an adult, we don't have a problem. You know if you're allergic or not.
Oh, yeah.
If you're not allergic, no problem.
Right.
If you're allergic, you're not going to buy a latex mattress. So we'll offer latex for an adult, but not for a baby.
Of course.
We're just not going to do it. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, I know this sounds ridiculous, but there was not a single mattress in the entire U.S. of A.
So none?
Not one. I couldn't find a single mattress that was a responsibly, properly made mattress. Not one.
Well, okay, I got a question for you. What's your opinion? Because I have a lot of patients that often ask me about the NaturePedic mattress. What are your thoughts about that type of mattress?
All right. So I don't want to talk about another brand specifically.
Okay, one that's similar to NaturePedic.
Okay.
What are your thoughts about that?
We'll talk about
I'd like to hear that.
We'll talk about memory foam.
Sure.
Then doesn't matter what the brand is.
Got it.
All right. So memory foam is just polyurethane foam. That's all it is. It's polyurethane foam. They add more chemicals to give it that memory foam feel. Right. But it's basically polyurethane foam.
So it has flame retardant?
Oh, it's chock full of flame retardants.
Really?
It's
now, what about this, though, Mr. Chick? If it has flame retardant in it, then does that have a lot of off-gassing also, then?
Of course it does.
By definition?
Of course it does.
That's unfortunate, because that's what I have.
Yeah.
I have that type of mattress.
Yeah, well.
I have a memory foam mattress.
Well, yeah. We would not use memory foam in any of our products.
Nothing.
We don't use any polyurethane foam of any kind in our. We don't use any vinyl, any polyurethane foam, any formaldehyde. We don't use GMO materials. We don't use any glues in our products. I mean, it just goes on and on and on.
Right.
We won't use any of those kinds of things.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really something.
And I'll give you an example. We were talking about waterproofing before.
Yes.
So how do you waterproof? We're talking about baby mattress. Now, when I started, it was started with baby.
Right.
Okay, and then people liked it so much they asked us to do children's products, and now we do adult. We even do super luxury products. We compete with the really super
High-end places.
the really
Yes.
super high-end places,
Right.
and we make everything. But we'll talk about baby for a minute because whatever.
Right.
So how do you waterproof a baby mattress? Okay, so the common ways are vinyl. Vinyl is the most common way. We will not use vinyl of any kind whatsoever.
So you won't use any vinyls, any fluorinated, you won't.
We
anything
will
like
not
that.
we will not do any perfluorinated.
None at all.
None at all.
Huh.
So how are you going to waterproof a mattress? We actually had that problem. Okay, this goes back 10 years.
Yes.
When we were starting, and even more than 10 years, whatever it was. How are you going to waterproof a mattress? Okay, so if we're not going to use, and especially if you want to use organic material,
Of course.
you know, but you gotta waterproof it. You gotta find a way to waterproof.
Right.
So there's a point that there's a very important point that your listeners need to understand. Okay.
I need to understand too. I
Well,
want to get it too.
All right. And we're certified by the Global Organic Textile Standard, and we'll come back and talk about that too.
Yes.
But when you want to waterproof, there's no organic way to waterproof it.
Right.
Okay. I got a call from the wife of the executive director of Friends of the Earth, some years ago, and she said, "Hey Barry, I heard all these great things about your product, but I understand there's a little bit of plastic on it. So what are you doing? What's that all about?" So here's my answer. We got to understand something here. I'm not a magician. Okay, I can't make things happen magically. I have to live within the real world. In the old days, when you had straw and the straw went bad, you just
change it.
You change it.
Yeah.
But today, when you're selling a mattress, it better be waterproof and it better be hygienic.
Correct.
How are we going to do it? Okay, so there's two ways to waterproof. There's chemicals and there's plastic. Chemicals, we said no. Okay, that leaves plastic. But plastic can be pretty toxic too.
Yes.
However, there's 1,000 ways to make plastic, and there's 1,001 chemicals you can put into that plastic or not put in the plastic,
Mhm.
which brings up the bigger point here. You can't, in our modern world, we can't live only on Tarzan and Jane natural materials. It don't work. There's some things we have to use synthetic material for.
And we want the synthetic materials to increase the lifespan of the product, as well as to be waterproof, as well as to decrease the propensity of developing mold and bacteria.
Sure. And so here's the point. Okay, there are some plastics or some synthetic materials that
Yes.
are pretty toxic. They're synthetic and they're toxic.
Right.
There are other synthetic materials that they're synthetic, but they're not toxic. They ain't gonna hurt you.
Right.
It's synthetic, you're right. It ain't breaking down anytime soon, but it's not toxic.
Right.
So there's certain places where you need to use a synthetic material. If you need to use it, that's fine, as long as it ain't gonna hurt anybody.
Right.
As long as it's not toxic.
Now, what about this? If it's not going to break down, then how do you do the balance of saying, well, it's not going to break down. However, it doesn't leave a really green footprint because it will be here. It's
Okay.
not going to break down.
So the materials that we use are all recyclable.
Okay.
And that's the way you need to do it.
Makes sense.
But we're waiting for the government to get recycling facilities across the country. We make mattresses that can be recycled tomorrow.
Got it.
But nobody's taking there's nobody's going to recycle it for you.
Got it.
Okay, so we're dealing with that right now.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
to try to get recycling facilities going.
What about this too, Mr. Chick? What would be the lifespan of an organic mattress versus the synthetic or non-organic type mattress for use?
It's
Really comparable.
Oh yeah, there's no issue there. I mean, our mattresses will last 50 years, 100 years.
Fantastic.
There's
Fantastic.
there's no practical issue there.
Fantastic.
Where,
What do you see now then as the evolution of NaturePedic from mattress store, from baby cribs to mattress? What do you see this evolving into? Because I think the footprint of what you're doing and what you want to do is pretty magnificent. What's your vision for your company?
all right, let me finish one point.
Sure,
and,
absolutely.
And answer
Absolutely.
your question. So on the waterproofing, for example.
Yes.
So a bunch of the environmental organizations have done studies, and they've taken some of the polymers, some of the plastics, and they've categorized them, which are the real bad ones, and which are sort of in the middle, and which are the
least.
the ones that are non-toxic.
Right.
We will only use the ones that are non-toxic.
Right.
Okay, that's what. Like, for
And they're
example,
non-toxic, not a percentage is non-toxic.
The
For
whole
example,
thing.
there's some like you can get like a rubber ducky for a kid that says only 0.1% phthalates, therefore it's safe.
no.
For you,
Is
it's non-toxic all the
non-toxic
way.
means non-toxic.
Got it.
Right. So, for example, for our waterproofing, we use a food-grade polyethylene, and we make the food-grade polyethylene from sugarcane.
Okay.
You know, so it's as non-toxic as it gets.
Got it.
But it's technically synthetic.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So we find ways to live within the modern world and give people products that are appropriate, that they need and that they want, but do it in a way that maintains the green and the non-toxic and the more natural as much as possible.
Right. Now, what about your products? Do your products have like an official seal or stamp from like the EPA or FDA?
Yeah, sure. So I want to go back to your other question.
Sure.
But
I have a lot of questions for you. I have a lot.
all right, let me answer this
Sure,
one then.
sure.
So all our NaturePedic mattresses are certified by the Global Organic Textile Standard.
Okay.
It's the most
Rigid.
severe, rigid, and it's really that standard. It's called the organic standard, but it's really a combination of organic and non-toxic.
Yes.
Some of the things are organic. For example, the fabric is organic. The fill is organic. The other parts of the mattress are non-toxic. So the waterproofing, the core in the middle to give it the support, that's not organic, but it's non-toxic.
Right.
So when you combine organic and non-toxic, you get a good product.
Yes.
So we're certified by the Global Organic Textile Standard. We're also certified by a whole bunch of other, we're certified Green Guard Gold. We're way beyond that, although we have a much high. We used to be certified by the Green Guard Gold Select Standard,
Yes.
which isn't even around anymore. But we were the only ones who met
the standard.
who were certified under that standard. And then we're certified by Mate Safe. It's a new certification program. Our products are certified by the Rainforest Alliance, and then we're recommended by a whole bunch of different people: Healthy Child, Healthy World, Environmental Media Association.
Right.
I can give you a whole list.
No, that's fine.
you know.
I think it just shows, though, that the standards for your products are extremely high and rigid,
Oh yeah.
and they have to be.
Oh yeah. All right. So back to your question, what's my big vision?
Yes.
And the truth of the matter is that even though I sort of tripped and fell into the mattress situation, and one thing just led to the other, there is a bigger vision. For example, let's go back to babies, because the point is really strong with babies. You bring a baby home from a hospital. What do? You put a new carpet on the floor. You're giving the baby formaldehyde.
Right.
You think you're doing the baby a favor. You ain't doing the baby a favor.
Right.
You paint the wall VOCs. The pajamas are all full of flame retardants. The food has its own problem.
Right.
It's a bigger thing.
Right.
It's about opening people's minds.
I agree.
Right. And you're doing that.
Right.
And it's about people saying, you know what, enough of this.
Right.
We got to stop it. And you're right. The only way to stop it is for the government to make some regulation.
That's what I think.
Until they do, industry is just going to do what industry wants to do.
Right.
I mean, and
But then there'll be a health crisis from that. Again, with respect to increasing the rates of, in this country anyway, of that. Well, actually globally, of diabetes and heart disease. Cardiovascular disease, again, number one killer of men and women in America, of stroke, of obesity, reproductive disorders. I mean, all these things are happening. I believe that the base has to be from the food and from our environmental exposures. That's what I believe.
Right. No, absolutely correct. So you know what? Let's go back to the laws that we have today and how that developed.
Yes.
All right? So until the 1970s, there were no environmental laws at all. I mean, you could dump your stuff, like I was saying when I was in college.
Exactly.
You could just
Anywhere.
dump it anywhere, just dilute it. Just throw it into the lake. Dump all your arsenic, your mercury. Just
Doesn't
dump
matter.
it all. Doesn't matter. Okay? But there was an outcry because in my case, where I was living, Lake Erie was dying.
Right.
And by the way, to this day, there is no commercial fishing permitted in Lake Erie because the mercury levels are so high.
Pretty amazing.
Pretty amazing. They just destroyed it.
Yes.
All right? I don't know how long it's going to take till Lake Erie you're able to
if it ever occurs.
If ever.
Right,
I mean,
like a radioactive dumping site, basically. Will it ever be clean?
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. And it's very sad.
Very, very.
All right.
That's a beautiful area.
It is a beautiful area. Thank you. All right. So here's the deal that was made. There was a huge outcry about all this toxic stuff going into the lake and destroying the lake. So there was a deal made in Congress between, I guess, the environmental side and the industry side.
Right.
So the industry people realized they could not continue dumping all this stuff into the lake. They knew they were in trouble. So
Yes.
here was the deal that they made. And there were many laws that were made during that period: the Clean Air Act and Clean Water Act,
Yes.
and Wetlands Acts, and different things to save different species, and so on and so on. But two of them that apply to consumer products is it's called TSCA and RCRA. TSCA is Toxic Substances Recovery Act. Toxic Substances Conservation Act.
Exactly.
And RCRA is Resource Conservation and Recovery Act. All right. So two laws were made. One law is when you're done with your industry, when you have some pollution, you have some junk left, you cannot dump it into the lake. You got to take it to a landfill. That's the RCRA law. Okay.
Right.
So and the TSCA law was the ability to use chemicals in the first place.
Right.
The deal that was made was that the RCRA would be very tough. The TSCA would be very weak. So the TSCA law, there's now 84-some thousand chemicals in the marketplace. TSCA it has no ability to really make a difference.
So no regulation.
There's no regulation. It's a joke of a law.
Got it.
It's a joke of a law. They just tried to update it. That's another joke. We can talk about that. That's the TSCA. RCRA
Has some meat behind
has some meat behind
Right.
it. So here's the bottom line. If you're making a product, you're making vinyl, you're making whatever, and you're starting your process and at the top of in the morning, and you need 100 pounds of arsenic.
Right.
At the end of the day, you finished your product and you have 5 pounds of arsenic left, and it's all gooey and yucky. That 5 pounds goes into a hazardous waste landfill. But the 95 pounds that went into your product that a baby's gonna be sleeping on, or you're sleeping on, that's totally legal.
Right.
That's the law.
Yeah. Very bizarre.
Very bizarre. And we just can't find a way to change it.
Right.
And there will be no way to change it until we elect people who will say, stop this nonsense.
Right.
You can't use the chemical unless you meet a standard.
Right. You know what I find amazing though is the legislators who pass these laws, their family, their kids, their grandkids, they're getting the same exposure as everybody else.
That's right.
It's not good for us. It's not good for them.
That's right.
But why not step up to the plate and do something different?
That's right.
That's amazing to me.
That's right. You know what? I was invited to speak to Congress. This is the House of Representatives, the Energy and Environment Committee.
Yes.
About a year and a half, 2 years ago. So I prepared my remarks, and there were a couple other expert witnesses testifying, and these guys are just dozing off.
Really?
So when it was my turn, I put my remarks down. I looked them in the eyes, and I said, let's talk for a minute. And we'll talk about you and your kids and your grandkids. I actually said it that way.
Yes.
Okay? And I said, you know what? When I came out of college, during that period of time, there was a big problem with lead in gasoline. All right? And the lead was getting into the atmosphere, and it was clear that
it was toxic. It was bad.
It was bad. We can't allow this. But you know what? The gasoline people said, we can't make gasoline without lead. And the engine people said, we can't make engines without lead.
Right.
And I looked at these congressmen. I said, all the congressmen that are sitting in your seats back then, they were able to say, we can't do this.
Right.
And they said, sorry, stop it. And guess what? My car's running just fine.
Yes, it is.
And so are yours.
Right.
Okay? So you can't buy this nonsense that industry says, no, this is the only way we do it. And part of the nonsense is if we do all these environmental regulations, we're going to hurt jobs. That's nonsense. That's pure nonsense.
Right.
Okay? I'm an example of that. I created a company out of nothing.
Right.
And it's doing just fine.
Absolutely.
All this nonsense that you have to use. No, you don't. You don't have to use toxic chemicals.
Your thought is that if new standards are set, people will just have to meet them.
Exactly.
Therefore, that would increase everyone's engineering ingenuity to make things happen, no matter what, and to save jobs and hopefully create jobs.
Exactly.
I don't know if they're thinking like that. I wish they were, Barry, but I don't think they are.
There's only one way to change it. That's from the bottom up.
I agree.
It ain't going to change from the top down.
No.
When the people start voting differently,
Right.
and they start demanding differently, and they go into the streets if that's what they have to do, and demand change. That's the only way it's going to happen.
Right.
I mean, with the industry today, it's a joke. You know, the safety officer at many industries, many factories, if not most.
Right.
You know what safety means to them? We met the government regulations.
Period.
Which don't mean nothing.
Right. Because that's mediocrity right
That's
there.
media. It's even worse than mediocrity.
If not less.
If not less. You know? And they think, well, we're safe, we're high quality because we... No, that's not the way you work it. And in fact, with many of these factories, it's even worse. You know why? Because the brands that you're buying, they don't even know what's in their product. Let me say it again because it's hard to believe.
Brands don't.
The manufacturing brands, the big names, they don't know what's. You know why? You ready for this? Because they designed a product, then they sent the design to China. Somebody in China is deciding how to make that product and what chemicals to put in there.
Wow.
So
no regulation there at all.
Oh, give me a break.
Really?
There's no regulation. I mean,
wow.
Give me a break. I mean, and they'll to save a nickel, they'll
do anything.
They'll do anything. They don't care. I was talking to one of the big brand guys.
Yes.
And we're just chatting around, and what he told me? He said they buy so much, but every single shipment, there's something that they're getting cheated on.
Every time.
Every time. No matter how big they are, no matter how powerful they are, every single time, something's getting screwed up.
Wow.
And they're using this chemical, they're using that, and they
just to increase their bottom line, which is $1, no matter the cost of someone else's health.
No matter the cost of somebody's health.
Doesn't that sound outrageous?
It's totally outrageous, and we allow it. We allow it. And then you ask yourself, all these kids and adults, don't matter, what's going on? How come everybody's so sick?
Right.
Or
gaining so much weight.
Or gaining so much weight, diabetes, whatever.
Right.
All these things. You're the doctor. You've got to deal with all those kinds
of
things.
I do.
Yeah. And what's causing it? We don't even know what's causing it. It's this, it's that, it's that, it's that. We've lost track. In order to change things, we have to change the whole system. We really do.
I mean, the thought that over 84,000 chemicals on the market today, just the thought of that alone is overwhelming. Now your company, let's hear more about your company because I do want to push people to your website and I want to know what you're offering. Let's talk about NaturePedic and what it does and how well it does it because your standards are extremely high. You use organic. For the most part, everything's organic, very little synthetic. And then the synthetic that is involved, like you said, is recyclable. As you grow your company, my hope and wish would be that everyone would have access to the products that you have. What are some of the newer product lines that you have coming out?
Well, let's take it one. We do adult luxury, we do adult regular.
Yes.
We do children, we do baby.
And these are different types of bedding type products.
Sure. You gotta design it. So let's take it one at a time. Let's start with adult. We've talked a lot about children. We can come back to baby too.
Yes.
It's no problem. Let's talk about adult. So the first issue is that in order to sell the product, we have to make our mattress more comfortable than anybody else, because we have this problem when you walk into a health food store and you buy those candy bars and they just don't taste quite good, and you say, you know what, this may be healthier, but I need my Hershey's candy bar.
Right. Many people think that's true.
So it's the same thing with mattresses. People say, well, I actually had one person say, organic mattress, you putting twigs in there or what?
Oh, my goodness.
So we actually have to make our mattresses better.
Absolutely.
Even before we talk about chemicals, we got to make it better.
Right.
Okay? So I have like an A, B, C, D, E. So A is articulation. We make our mattresses so it articulates really nice with your joints, takes away the pressure, and it feels comfortable. Right. Okay? Then the next thing about our mattresses is B is breathability. Okay? So most mattresses are made with polyurethane foam or memory foam. That gets hot and sweaty.
Yes.
Okay? And everybody will tell you.
It's true.
All right? Not happening with our mattresses. You know.
So your mattress has two things: not only breathability, but no gasability, meaning that it's not giving off all these gases.
Right, exactly.
You know, from the flame retardant materials.
Exactly. And this is all even before. Okay, so there's the chemical part,
right,
and then there's just the comfort part,
right, comfort and function.
So we got to make sure that everybody understands we're giving you better comfort, we're giving you better function, in addition
to safety.
Okay, so it's more breathable. You'll sleep much more comfortable.
Right.
You're not going to get hot sweaty. The next thing is customization. So we came up with another new idea. When you look at your mattress, how come you can't look under the hood? Nobody looks. You can't. You don't know what's in there.
That's true.
You know.
That's true.
So what we did is we have gorgeous mattress like any other gorgeous mattress, but we put a zipper on there, and you could unzip the top and see what's inside.
And actually look in if you want.
Actually look in inside. Now but once you do that, take it to the next step. Okay, so you can customize what you want. Let's say you're doing a latex over a coil. Okay,
right.
So on our latex we have 3 different firmnesses. We have a soft, medium, firm.
Yes.
Okay. On the coils we have 2. We have a more plush, less plush. Okay?
I have a question for you. Are they memory foam type based, or it's not like a memory foam at all?
No, nothing.
Not at all.
Nothing like a memory foam.
Awesome.
It's a completely different feel, but it's a gorgeous feel.
Okay.
When you're sleeping on organic cotton fabric, organic cotton fill, organic wool, organic latex, you're in the Garden of Eden, man. I mean, it's like it feels great.
I have to try these out.
You sure
I really do.
You sure do. All right.
Really do.
So then the next thing is you design that comfort any way you want. And then what we do is we tell everybody you have 90 days to take it home and make sure it's perfect. And if it ain't perfect, just unzip it. And exchange, pull out that top layer, we'll exchange it for you.
Wow.
When you go to the store, you have 10 minutes.
Oh, if that.
And you're sleeping on that for 10 years or more.
Yes,
you know.
Right.
But with us, you design it the way you want it in the store, no problem. And then you have 90 days. You can make it even better if you need to.
Wow.
Okay? No charge. No charge.
Oh, really?
No charge. All you do is pay for the shipping. No charge.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And not only that, but let's say 5 years later you want to change the feel. You just unzip it, pull out that layer, and
change it over.
Yeah, call us, tell us what you have or whatever, and we'll tell you and we'll help you. No problem. What if the dog makes a mess on the surface and you just don't want it? You don't have to throw out the whole mattress. Just get a new one casing. That's it.
That's pretty amazing.
And when you're done with all that, guess what? That was just for your side of the bed. Usually when you buy a bed, it's the same firmness all the way across.
Right.
Not with us. You design your side of the bed. Your partner designs his or her side. And it don't have to match. You don't have to put up with your partner, and partner doesn't put up with you.
That's a good point.
And all that came about with the simple question: why can't you look under the hood? So
that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and then there's no partner disturbance as well.
I want to tell you, man, we have like another 30 seconds, so I just want to close out with you though. Any final words for my audience? Because my subscribers, my listeners, my viewers, I want them to go to your website, naturepedic.com. Any closing words that you have for the audience about your wonderful products?
It's time to wake up. It's time to change the system, and it's time to look out for yourself and for everybody in your family and around you and your friends and for everybody.
Absolutely.
And we can all do better.
I appreciate what you're saying. As you were saying it, I was thinking the slogan, wake up with NaturePedic so you can sleep better. So we really want to, as Mr. Barry Chick says so well, we really want to wake up. You want to really expand your consciousness to understand what you're doing to the environment, what you're doing in your environment, and what is housed in your environment. What are the chemicals that are there? As he said so eloquently, there are 84,000 chemicals on the market. How many of those are actually good for you? How many are synthetic? What is the green footprint that you leave behind for your family, for the next generation, for your kids, for your grandkids, for your great-grandkids? So lots to think about today. So I really want to thank Barry Chick and NaturePedic for being with us today. Please go to their website. I want to remind you to go to our website and check out our CNN interview with Dr. Gupta, which is really fantastic, talking about the gamers. That's being aired now. It'll be aired all the way through, I believe, January. That's on CNN. And then our YouTube videos, we have some new videos we just uploaded about wrist and hand health. Please go to those. And I want to remind you, I really appreciate everyone subscribing and being a part of our Dr. Levi community. And I just want to tell you, Twitch TV this Saturday at 7 p.m. and also BlizzCon this Friday and Saturday in Anaheim. I'll be there. Looking forward to being a part of opening ceremonies. Again, I want to thank Mr. Chick for being with us today as he goes back safely to Chagrin Falls, Ohio. You got to go to naturepedic.com and check out their information as well as their products, as well as Barry Chick himself. Incredible speaker as well as author and just all around good guy. He brought it today. I'm really grateful. So I want to thank you for being a part of our community. This is Dr. Levi. Again, subscribe, like, and be a part of our community and know that you matter. It's Dr. Levi. Have a great day. Remember, get out and vote and be kind to the veterans. Those women and men are the true heroes of America. This is Dr. Levi. Bye.